Cool. So let's get started. So today I have a very special guest on the show, Ravit Jain. Ravit is based in Mumbai, India. He's the community manager at Pact, and we met through LinkedIn. He's one of my LinkedIn friends, and today we're gonna talk about social media platforms a lot in depth, and we'll explore topics like, how does it feel publishing content, what does it mean to be a community manager, and lots of other very insightful things. So I'm gonna keep it super short. Ravit, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Loris. It's such a pleasure to be on your show, and I was looking forward to it. Based out of India. For starting with my introduction, pray for India. We're going through a tough time, and second wave, I don't know if we'll get through when this podcast releases. But this was something what I wanted to touch on. For myself, community manager at Pact Publishing, and bridging that gap between Pact and the communities. We work with tech authors. These are world-class authors in making sure that their books are amplified at a global level. Understanding what the community needs. There's a tech book that Pact publishes. What is exactly what they want? So that I'm just trying to connect those dots. When these are very sensitive, they want, obviously they learn, they actually practice. If there's a developer, he'll practice codes, he'll write the programming, and they're very sensitive about their work. So if they have a good feedback and if it's full, and that, I'm out there doing all the community work for the community, and we are making sure that one's heard well. That we are putting out makes sense to one's career. It's giving them a growth curve and helping them in their career, basically. So
that's brilliant. I think knowing your audience is the holy grail of communication, right? If you know exactly who you're talking about, or whether it's writing on a podcast. I mean, I certainly struggled at the beginning to answer the question, who are you talking about? Everyone interested in data. But having that clue, I think, as an author, it's definitely valuable. But how did you get into this in the first place?
So before Pact, actually, I was working for a company which was Hexa, Grandview Research. Those companies are market research companies. They produce reports on, say, you can say even a pencil, the market of a pencil, worldwide. Then I was actually looking after the products and services. They're getting reports. I was bringing up data, those primary and secondary data, and working on a market engineering sheet, which is really something where you will collect data worldwide about a product, say about it talk about it in regions, and make it get it in your market research report. And that's where I started with data and research, but research was something what I always liked. And came back to my hometown, which is Mumbai, and I got an opportunity at Pact Publishing as a category manager, and I was looking after ideas on board from potential authors, and then converting them into books, creating about if it's a topic that the audience will like. Typically into the role so much, then I was like, no, I'm a people's person. I need to go out there and talk more. I need to research. Right? I love meeting people. I love talking what they what's the purpose of their life, even if it's about their career. So I was thinking, it's like one of the most important thing in Pact. For any publishing, actually, it is done by acquiring editors, product managers, producers. So these are the guys who will actually listen to the right idea, and they'll be like, okay, they'll research about it completely in the background. They'll speak with the author, they'll curve the idea, and then bring it to Pact and make sure that the book is published. So the process is long here. So an achievement, right? After 6 or 7 months, or after 3 months or 4 months of discussion with an author, there's a complete process that happens. So then obviously I was like more like a people's person. I got there on LinkedIn. I started amplifying books. I started talking to people. I started getting into the community, and that got me like, no, I need to be in a role where I can be very much attached to people. I can be understanding and respecting the community, doing many different things. Obviously, I have my own podcast as well, The Ravit Show. You can see it behind, making sure that I'm getting those data folks who are making some strides in the community and helping the book that they have come up with, or if there's something that they've done for the community, why not get them on the show and talk about their achievements. So that's about
absolutely. And these two are completely different types of media. You often hear from, especially people that already published books, they tend to complain writing the book is a long process.
True.
It's very expensive. Scott Taylor described it as a chore. When I asked the question, how was writing the book, right? So because it's, for some people it's a natural way of expression, for some others it's not, and so you really have to sit there, face that screen and think about what you're gonna write in a conversational medium like a
True.
podcast. It's a lot easier once you overcome the fear of the camera or the microphone, and we'll talk about that in a second because I have a few things to say about that. Much easier. There's a flow, right? It's more natural. We are storytelling apes at the end of the day.
Right.
We evolved in front of fires, looking at the stars and telling to the rest of the tribe what happened, what were the achievements,
Exactly.
which lions didn't eat during the things like that. So it's a lot faster, but there is a place for both. Like, you can't substitute or replace a book with a podcast.
Right.
I think, because the fact that you sit down and really think about the structure and the delivery of the content, like, they're intense, especially if they're well written. They're full of insights. The books that captivate me are those that kind of strike a balance between dumping information at me and allowing me to co-create in the process of reading. So I kind of chip in and I imagine a situation. And so in the end, it's a very different way. Whereas when I'm listening to a podcast, I'm typically, going for a walk and focusing on the conversation, which is super valuable, but it's just not a book, right?
I think definitely that makes a lot of sense, because when you say about a book, first thing, you need to be in that headspace when you're writing a book, or when you decide to write a book, because next 3 to 4 months or 6 months or maybe 8 months, it depends on how you're writing or how you schedule the books. Everyone, obviously, the people who are writing books, the authors, are having a full-time job as well, but they are coming out of that and then writing a book, and it can be difficult, but at the same time, if you have that focus, easier there. And you had a book, like, a typical process is putting out a proposal. We're talking about what's the topic area, what's the market. There's like level hierarchy that a publisher has created, Dominic, for the authors. And for us as producers or the managers, that what many things in there, where we talk about the community, where we talk about the audience, the market reach, what's the market of that tech, what's the future of that tech, the approach of a book, the target audience, everything, trust me. Also, just before the contracting of a book, this is much before, where we are just in the planning stage. So the author is also on the same page, that, okay, 15 chapters, and this is the schedule that I'll be. Days where it gets very easy for the author also to know that, okay, in 7 days I need to submit this chapter, or maybe in 10 days I need to just get done with this part. And there's a technical reviewer as well. That is, it's easier for the author also, because there's a peer reviewer who's very technically sound and giving his feedback firsthand. So go ahead, Laurie.
No, I'm thinking that I've had 3 opportunities in the last 10 years to write a manuscript that is longer than 50, 60 pages, and there were basically a defense thesis for my bachelor degree, the master's degree, and the PhD. Told us the story of the experiment or the piece of research sometimes, and I really remember the pain of looking at my laptop and the calendar, knowing that there is a deadline coming, because it's gotta get done right by that day.
Exactly.
But without a plan, without a structure to manage that process, it feels bad. Like, you don't enjoy the writing process, even if you're someone that enjoys writing, because you always feel like, oh, have I done enough today?
Exactly.
What's the pace? What's the priority? So valuable.
I think author, if he's ever in that state where he thinks that, okay, where am I? It kind of gets very confusing for him, because obviously he's having his daytime job, he's having his family, he has other commitments, and then obviously the book is there and he wants to meet the deadline. But we would never want an author to be in a place where he's confused. For that, obviously, we have the producers who are looking after them very well. Producers are the ones who would be listening to the ideas and making sure that the book is published. They're always there. They'll be in constant touch of what's happening, what's not happening. There's project editors who might be looking at it. There are development editors who are the ones looking at the book and making sure everything's in place in terms of the editing. There's a team completely that comes up in a book, and then
Yeah, it's a journey. There's one aspect aside from like the writing process itself and choosing a publisher chat, and is about the importance of being active in the community and really changing the mindset from try to be as technically accurate as possible, especially for people that come from academia, where the reward gravitates around correct as opposed to getting ideas to flow and get feedback as early as possible and learn as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
And so everybody likes, to throw buzzwords around, we're agile, we're leveraging the knowledge economy. But really, like, I think that leveraging the knowledge economy starts with a change of mindset of how we feel about sharing knowledge, because the world is just too complicated. Like, there's no single person, no matter how smart you are or how hard you work, you'll never get to a point where you know all the different perspectives and can think outside of your box and see things in a different way. And to be honest, you've been an inspiration for me. When I jumped on LinkedIn, seriously thinking, okay, it's time that, I'm trying to start a business, maybe I should be more active. The first people that I've been following, well, you are one of the first, then it was Kate Snee, and then George Furikan. But what I learned from your content is it engages because it's honest and is genuine, and it's not done to expect anything in return.
Yeah.
You don't publish because you're gonna achieve a click rate or a through rate, and I can see that. It's really easy to perceive that as the user, and that lowers the barrier to it doesn't feel threatening. It feels genuine, it feels true, and you're like, I want to be part of this.
Exactly.
So tell me your journey. How did you get to that? Was it something that you just understood intuitively from day one, or you kind of had to trial and error until you understood that this style was indeed the most useful?
Yeah, talking about the early journey, obviously I started back 2 years back, and I remember posting just something what I felt, posting about what's happening, what's trending. That was me being very naive about LinkedIn, obviously, because I just started and I don't know what to do. But then I obviously had a purpose that I want to share something around the world. Maybe to create a good community out there where I can say that, okay, I love talking to you guys, and I've just brought you in one place, and now you can also be friends with each other, and we can have a good time, and we can always be out there helping each other, right?
Yeah.
So it's somewhere there.
It's a fantastic mindset. It's just, I love this visualization that you have, because a lot of people feel frightened. They're like, I'm not gonna share that because someone will know more about the topic than I do, and then we start commenting, and I'm scared about trolls. But look, I don't know what it feels like to have 200,000 followers. I'm very, I'm very young on LinkedIn, but to have you just ignore bad comments, and I might be naive about this, but I think that's all you need to do, really. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think it's just about first thing. Obviously, I completely agree with you, Loris. And the thing is, when you are on LinkedIn, you need to think about your target audience as well sometimes. But that doesn't make you feel. That doesn't actually put you in a place where you need to post about something what other people might like. Don't with something your purpose out there. My purpose was meeting people and talking to them. How should I be coming close to them is something. Okay, what do I have in my bag? I have a bag I'm carrying. I'm going in LinkedIn and I'm like, okay, what can I first thing, what do I purpose? My purpose is to meet people and talk to them. Do I have anything to offer to them? Yes, I have some free resources which I can provide them. I have the books that we are publishing. I can talk about that. I have authors I'm working closely with. I can get them in touch. I can do some partnerships. I can actually collaborate my authors to be speaking at conferences. I can meet new people. I can get close to companies who are interested in publishing. Obviously, I will have many people who might be like, okay, we don't have we do not come out from a publishing background, so we don't have this many options. What should we be doing? I think in life we all have things that we have in bag, and we carry that everywhere, wherever we go. It's not about LinkedIn. It's about even a conference. If I'm going out there in a conference, I can meet someone who has hobby is just same as me, which is cricket. if I get to that point with that person in a conference, I will be in touch for
Yeah.
me for a longer time, if not about work, at least for cricket. So you need to have that mindset that you're meeting people, and my purpose was obviously to meet people and talk to them and
Yeah.
understand what they want and get into the community. And then it kind of, obviously connects well with the audience when they feel, Ravit is the guy who will not only think about him, but think about us as well. And that's the purpose, Obviously, I'm going out there, I'm talking about my books that we are publishing, and it is in the end helping them too. If there's something new which has come up, who wouldn't want to know, right? First time is another edge that I
Yeah.
had in my journey. But it started back in 2 years, and then 2 year in pandemic, it kind of evolved.
Must have exploded the need of
Exactly.
feeling close to a tribe and being part of the conversation, right?
So true. You know about a journey, and when you talk about a following, it's about the people who you connect with, your target audience. Correct. Target audience is definitely more of data science and data professionals, because for anyone who's getting on LinkedIn needs to understand what you have, things that you have in bag, and you can put out those options and make sure that you don't worry about being engaging, because it will happen over time. It's a cliche quote, obviously. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right? You need to understand that there's a long run. You don't need to worry that, okay, the next day, today I start posting on LinkedIn, the next day I'll get 1,000 views. No, you might not just get
Absolutely.
eh,
It's a difference between a finite mindset and an infinite mindset, and which comes from the finite game, infinite games. In a finite game like soccer or chess, you know the rules. Once you learn the rules, those are standards, and there is a clear beginning time, and there will be an end time. Maybe in chess is a little bit uncertain because some matches can go on for hours or days, but there will be an end time.
right.
And most importantly, there will be a winner and a loser. Whereas in an infinite game, the rules are not written anywhere. They're changing all the time. There is no winner, no loser. And the point is not to win. The point is to be in the game for as long as possible.
Right.
And when I thought about my journey on LinkedIn and the podcast, I try to really absorb it. And so at the beginning, you see some podcast producers that go out there and think they read somewhere that they need to publish every week, and they start killing themselves to produce content every single week. And you are a content creator, you know how long it takes to produce 1 hour of good content. It's a lot of work. So you have two options. You can produce every week at the expense of your well-being, of your physical and mental health.
Yeah.
You can produce every week at the expense of your job, which not everybody can afford to lose.
No one.
Or you decide that you forget about those crazy schedules and you start producing and publishing every X number of weeks, whatever is comfortable with you, because you're thinking long term. You're like, will I be able to sustain this in 10 years? Right?
Yeah. Exactly. No, I think definitely, Royce, that makes a lot of sense. And when starting the Ravit show, I met so many podcast hosts, and I actually went out there and asked them about so many different questions, what you're talking about, creating content. And everyone told me the same thing. They're like, you're going on a journey that you'll enjoy. First 4 or 5 months, you'll be in a place where you'll feel that okay, am I doing the right things? You'll have that imposter syndrome that, okay, are you doing the right thing? Am I doing the right thing for the people even connecting? But people will reach out to you if they connect well. If they say it's not going to happen overnight, it will take time. You'll need to, just put those roadblocks out of your mind where you think that, okay, I've created like 50 episodes now. I need to take a break. I'll go on 3 months. I'll go on season 2. Okay, that's a good idea. It works for many of them where you take. I have a different perspective where remember what was my first purpose when I started this. My purpose was always to talk to people and understand what they want. So I go back to that and I'm like, should I really be taking any break? If I don't do that, it might be a break for me. Yeah. It might be a break for me where I'll be in a place that I'm not liking it. Oh no, I can't be without talking to people. I want someone to be on my show every week and talk about it, and that's one of the reasons I go live. Obviously I know the work that you're putting in, the editing, the behind the scenes. You need to understand. You might go through the interview like 5 times, and you might be picking up the best parts for your audience and putting it out there. So the time that they are investing, that 1 hour, that 45 minutes is valuable, and they feel that, okay, Loris, you've done a fantastic job by getting Ravit on the show, maybe getting Scott Taylor, maybe getting Gilbert on the show, because they shared something out of the box which we were actually looking out for. So understanding what your audience wants, understanding what you want to put out there is very important. It's not be something which should reflect well with your audience, and they will come back to you that, okay, Lord, that's one of the best things a podcast host can get. That someone just comes up that and
That's amazing,
appreciates you about the work that you're doing and the hard work that you've put. And the same thing works for me. When I go out there and I talk to my guest every week, and people reach out to me that this was a fantastic session. You focused on something which we wanted to always look about, and we got a platform where we could ask questions. And thanks for taking up our questions, and it was helpful.
That's brilliant.
So exactly what my thoughts are.
When you take a hard look at the mirror and understand who you really are,
Exactly.
then it's impossible to fall out of balance. I mean, anything that can happen to you, a pandemic, you lost the job, like whatever it is, you're gonna bounce back, because you know that what you're doing is something that gives you good vibes, that gives you energy, that motivates, that, and it's kind of fuel for the engine. I mean, I'm a lot like you. I understood this during the pandemic in particular, because I found myself with a lot of free time.
True.
The world was upside down, and I had a 6 months baby that would wake me up 4 times a night. So life was a little bit weird in those months. And I remember, when you think about it, the pandemic, you don't go anywhere, you can't see anyone, you don't have colleagues, not even remotely, because you lost your job, right? So you're basically alone, you're with yourself. And in those moments, being able to listen a deep conversation that happened in the short past, in the form of podcast, saved my life to be. And that's what I learned. I was like, I actually enjoyed those conversations during a beer on a Friday night way more than I enjoyed actually doing the nitty gritty, the actual job. And now I can code. I learned how to code. I've been coding for more than 10 years. But I can tell you, I realized that if I write a really efficient script and it takes me a week, I would be satisfied, say 5 out of 10. But if I have a conversation with someone, or I manage to nurture a relationship, even in 3 months' time, I would be satisfied like 5 billion. It comes down to how you are. And there are people that are not, that are self-proclaimed tech people that don't like other human beings. I've met some of those. Not everybody in the data community.
Yeah, I think that brings up to an important topic, that is, does everyone want what you want? If you look at that very closely, I love meeting people. Those are my North Stars. My evolutionary in the community and talk to people and be out there for them. But is it the same for them? Everyone have their North Stars very different. So it kind of gets very difficult sometimes to create that rapport. I can't go out there and say that, Loris, just added you on LinkedIn and you're my best friend. That's not gonna happen, right? There needs to be a place where we both settle down, and that that can only happen when you talk to a person and you understand what they're expecting. So don't listen for everyone when you're on LinkedIn. Don't think take out something from the opposite person. Rather, be a giver. Just obviously there's a lot of things that goes, that everyone has different North Stars. You need doing the same work that you're doing, so give them that space. Act with respect and grace, and understand who they are and what they are, and bring them to a point where they feel comfortable around you, and they would be happy to give out that 20 minutes of chatting with you in a day, maybe in a week, in a month.
Exactly, because it is a war for attention. I mean, that's what we have to remember. The difference between me and you now, live, I mean, not live, but we're recording this podcast. I can see you, you can see me.
Exactly.
We can hear each other. It's real time. It's both ways.
True.
On LinkedIn, it's kind of, yes, it is both ways, but there's a delay between the moment you publish and the moment someone will see it.
Exactly.
It's also highly contextual, and really nobody knows what the algorithm does. Sometimes.
True.
like the other day I just published one line and it was seen within not even an hour by more than 1,000 people.
Exactly.
And then days that you write a post that are a little bit more convoluted and maybe there's an image, spend a lot of time building that image, 200 people. And it's true that we shouldn't look at those numbers, but inevitable that you do, right? Because they're there, they're right there, and they're increasing, and it's so tempting to judge the quality of the work that you're doing based on those numbers. But I have an intuitive understanding that this is BS. It's not true at all.
Yeah, I'm in a stage right now where I really don't care much about the numbers, because in the end, back of the mind, okay, just 1% of that, I might just go there and see, like, okay, how many people have reacted or engaged with the purpose, that 1%. But at the same time, yeah, so true. But
5 seconds.
5 seconds, just 5 seconds. Give me. I'll be looking at it and okay, and then I'll forget about it. But at the same time, in the end, I know what I'm doing out there is important. It is something, those 2 posts, if I'm putting out in a day, people are taking, like I said, if they want to invest even 20 seconds reading that post, it should make sense to them. It should be something valuable. It can, I remember like 3 hours, 4 hours, and I'm like, okay, now do I need to post it? Okay, I'll find the right time. By evening, I'll post it. Engaging time for my audience. Everyone's up, they'll read it. And after, when you're near to that evening and you start reading again, and then you're like, okay, I just have
maybe you should change it.
Yeah, maybe you should change it. So true. And should I post it? I suddenly feel it's not connecting with myself, what I've written like 2-3 hours back. What should I do? Okay, let's just scrap it. Like, gone.
Yeah.
So
wasted so much time.
I think that Kate Strachny is my very, very, very good friend, and she told me one thing: stop having roadblocks in your mind. Doing that, you will lose a lot of things that might turn out to be valuable for many others out there. So understand one thing very well, that there is always something which will be valuable for someone else, if it might not be valuable for you. So stop thinking about you yourself. Like I said, you have something in mind and you think, okay, this can be valuable for others. If it's not that valuable for me, put it out.
Yeah.
To me, it can be.
I think, Ravit, the mindset that you're describing here, I think is critical for any team, in particular data teams, especially data teams that are working to build a source of truth. Maybe that they building a data glossary, they're implementing a new data governance program. Those are examples where to succeed in that job means to be able to extract domain knowledge and tribal knowledge and codify it, structure it, standardize it, and make it available to everyone else. And I don't have a huge experience doing that, because I've done it in my last company, Sendle, for 6 months. But I was leading that project, and I realized that the hardest part, as we discussed with Nadia Jury and Jonathan Brooks on the podcast, is to run those data discovery sessions and understand how other people understand the data. And what I'm trying to do here basically is to draw a parallel or a link between the mental framework that you have when you're sharing things on LinkedIn, when you're seeking constant feedback, or simply you're just sharing because it makes you feel good, right? For the sake of sharing, because it might be useful to someone else. And the mindset that is required to remove roadblocks and code and basically allow information to flow in any organization. Because you can dump the most expensive tech stack on a team, but if people are not ready mentally to be questioned, to share, right? It's not. I mean, you're not gonna achieve an outcome. You'll have capabilities, but what are capabilities useful for if you don't have outcomes? And
I think it.
So I think this is really, really relevant for the data community.
Yeah, I think having that right mindset. You need to find that balance. Trust me, it's not that complicated. Like, like we're talking right now, obviously we have just got into that critical mode and starting to understand that how it might work for some teams. It's not simple things that you need to understand. First thing, obviously, understand your evolutionary purpose. The next 1 year, what you need to do, you need to understand what are you here for. They need to achieve out of a platform like LinkedIn, or maybe what you need to achieve by having a podcast. What's your evolution goal for this? Or maybe there's no end goal, like you said, it's just for help content that might be helpful. But at the same time, it is a little difficult. Everyone, whatever we are doing today, it has a purpose. If you recording this podcast, there's a purpose. I want to share the information and the things that I am doing. You want to create a content that might be valuable for your audience. Your audience might be listening to this because they find your podcast very much valuable and they can learn something out of it. In just one conversation, we have found 3 dimensions to it. The same way, if there's a data team, they can find 10 dimensions. If there are 10 people around there might be hundreds of such dimensions. If you connect networks, it's like a network graph, trust me. Start connecting the dots, it might just go in places, and a person starts doing that, they might never feel out of place. They'll have so much to do. They might have so much to share. They might have content creators think that, okay, how can I help my audience by creating a video? Maybe resources, maybe an interview, and what my journey is. So
I think you're right. If you start from sharing because you want to spare other people the pain that you experienced, then there's pretty much not going to be an end, because unfortunately the world is not that perfect place that many people depict, right? We have so many problems. Actually, we've never had so many problems as we have. No, I'm not a pessimistic type of person. I'm very optimistic. But if you look at the breakdown of truth and the asymmetries in understanding what the reality of a situation is, the loss of trust in institutions like science and this could be a really long conversation. But what I'm trying to say is, if your intention is to help people go navigate of the complexity of understanding something, whether it's a Python cheat sheet or the data governance or data management program, whatever it is, surely you will figure it out, and surely there are lessons learned. And why keep it for yourself? I say it all the time. Sharing is a really great way to amplify your knowledge.
Exactly.
You literally learn a lot more the second you share it.
Exactly. I think I agree completely, Loris, because what I feel is, if you're not sharing, what are you going to do it with? Like, okay, you'll use it somewhere, but how long? If someone else can benefit out of it, you are creating a community out there for yourself. You're creating friends, and those friends will be helpful because tomorrow they'll share something which will be valuable for you. May inspire. Spoke about something which is obviously very important today in creators, that is mental health. We need to understand it is real. First thing, don't ignore it. Happen with content creators very often, because obviously kind of take it like a responsibility. If you are not putting out content, the community is out there and they are expecting content out of us, but that can be obligated to do content or something. It's your job, like just pick this as my job, but still after that relax a bit, take that small break for yourself and just go out there again, enjoy it rather than making it more of a just be in that place where you can't handle yourself and then you are into more trouble. I think
in this sense, the nature of the platforms that we use to share content are not helping. Because in the real world, when I'm thinking back at those beer conversations around the pool table, nice startup vibe in Sydney CBD.
So true.
Those were really natural conversations. People were relaxed. You're drinking a beer. You're thinking about a problem that you have at work. You learn about a different perspective. Your marketeer complains and says, "Oh, if only I had that data." And you're like, "I actually have that data. I could give it to you."
Yeah.
A conversation of this type make it really easy to see or to feel that you're having an impact and someone is benefiting from your work.
Exactly.
So that sense of purpose is, even if it's just perceived, if it's not actual, because we know that data pipelines are complicated to build and maintain. So unless you build a business case, you're not gonna realistically tomorrow open a laptop and put together a new pipeline for that marketeer that told you that needed that data over beers, right? Nobody's gonna buy that.
True.
It's at the very least you have to have a new conversation when you're sober and talk about the idea and see if it's still valuable.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying? What I'm saying is that it's easy to have that feeling that you are contributing, even if it's just chatting, because of the very nature of the human interaction. Whereas with platforms like Twitter or LinkedIn, it's different. So you need a lot of self-compassion, and I really executed on this idea last week. I took a break. I took my family out for 1 week. Well, the episode was released on Wednesday, and I was in the middle of the month. There was only literally like a small spot where I could get reception.
Yeah.
And so I drove there, at 8 p.m. Everybody was asleep, and I quickly posted on LinkedIn, and then I drove back. But it was amazing. Like, it was a farm stay. There was no internet coverage, so no phone, no screen. I had 5 minutes of screen time in a week, which is like
breaks are necessary. No, I've seen data professionals, trust me. I've seen data scientists, I've seen data engineers working for like 16 hours, and they're like, we work for 16 hours. I don't know the technical bits, what models they're creating, what projects they're working on, but 16 to 18 hours of working in a day is literally something big. But I've also seen data scientists and engineers doing the real things, working for 16 to 18 hours, but making sure that they are taking that important break, going out every 3 months for a week, for 2 weeks straight. They're not compromising on the breaks they're taking. They are refreshing themselves well. They're refilling their energy and coming back with full force and then working. So I think that is very important as well, and understand that it's okay. The world is not gonna end if you're gonna go and take a break. Just be in that space, enjoy your life, I guess.
Absolutely, but it's absolutely true. But at the same time, that that feed, that scrolling thing becomes so addictive that you feel like the fear of missing out is real. I can feel it. I came back, and in those 5 days, because I didn't have any contact with LinkedIn. I kind of detoxicated, I removed the whole habit. And when I came back, I realized, oh my God, I'm actually checking LinkedIn 5 times and it's not even lunchtime.
Exactly.
And I checked your 5 feed. So it takes a lot of self-awareness as well, going back to what Gilbert said, to try to be aware, catch ourselves in the moment when we exhibit a behavior that we're not particularly proud of, like checking LinkedIn every 5 minutes. and try to be, okay, realistically, slow pace. Let's take it easy. We're here for the long term. So
true.
Absolutely.
No, I think definitely. I think this was fantastic, Loris. Which example that you've given, that okay, every 5 minutes I'm looking at LinkedIn. Ooh, what's happening? Give it time. You've watched it something. It's okay. You look at it for the first 1 hour and then give it time. Let it flow. But if it's your work, that's a different story. Out there to share something, then give it some space. I think yes. Makes sense.
I'd love to include some of the links to those resources, maybe that temp that you mentioned before in the show notes, if that's fine with you.
Yes, definitely.
I think people will find it valuable for sure. Yeah. And what's the best place for people to follow you?
So the best place obviously is LinkedIn. I have reached my 30,000 limit, so people need to follow me. If there's something important that they need to obviously discuss with me, what they can do is send me a personalized invite where they can write the message and send me, so I can have a look. And LinkedIn is the best place. I have my own Slack channel. People can join my Slack channel. We have more than 1,000 members now. I've started somewhere in December. People enjoy sharing their work, whatever they're posting on LinkedIn. I've created a platform where they can share their work. They can speak about it. They can take views and opinions from other people as well. So wanting to write a book, if you have an idea, reach out to me. I'm your man. I'll help you through.
Fantastic. I'll make sure to add that to the show notes. And Ravi, thank you very much for being on the show. Again, this has been fantastic conversation, just like the first brainstorming we did.
Oh my God, Loris, you're doing
really looking forward, man.
Thank you very much, Loris. You're doing a fantastic job. Trust me, don't stop it, because your whole setup, the way you connect dots. I would actually want to let everyone know here that this is one of the most difficult job that you're doing, Loris. And hats off, man.
Thanks, man.
You're doing great stuff.
It's easy to go unnoticed, that type of work. It's invisible. We don't see it, but
so true.
Yeah, it's very nice to hear that people recognize it. So appreciate that.
Definitely. Always there to support you.